The warning ignored. High Admiral Vereen stood motionless before the Concordet's Grand Assembly, her iridescent scales reflecting the soft purple light of the chamber's ancient crystals. The message playing on the quantum display made her sixth sense tingle with unease, something she hadn't felt in her 3 centuries of service to the unified Galactic Concordat. The being on the screen defied description. It existed as pure energy, its form shifting between crystalline structures and waves of light. "We are the precursors," it announced, its words translating directly into thought. "We have watched the species you call human for 12,000 years. They are not like the others you have encountered. They are not like you. Do not attempt to integrate them into your Concordat. You will not survive the attempt." The Grand Assembly erupted in murmurs and trills. Supreme Chancellor Ixtal raised all 4 of his primary limbs, calling for silence. "High Admiral," he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of 10 millennia of Concordat authority. "Your analysis." Vereen activated her neural interface, projecting a holographic display of Earth and its solar system. "The humans are primitive by our standards, Supreme Chancellor. They have barely established bases on their moon and neighboring planet. Their ships still rely primarily on chemical propulsion. Their weapons are crude projectiles and fusion devices. They spend excessive resources on entertainment, art, and what they call sports." She paused, mandibles clicking in thought. "However, continue, Admiral," Ixtal commanded. "Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. In the past century alone, they have progressed from ground-based chemical-powered flight to rudimentary space exploration. Their information technology doubles in capability every few cycles. They have begun experimenting with quantum computing, though crudely. Most concerning, she brought up a series of images showing human conflict. They adapt at an alarming rate during warfare. Each conflict drives explosive technological advancement." Director of Integration Nixis stepped forward, her crystalline form humming with dismissive frequencies. "With respect, High Admiral, you overstate their capabilities. We have successfully integrated over 10,000 species into the Concordat. Some resistant, some willing. All now prosper under our guidance. These humans will be no different." Vereen felt her scales ripple with frustration. "Director, I urge caution. The humans exhibit unique characteristics. They actively seek out challenges. They intentionally push their limitations. When faced with an obstacle, they rarely retreat. Instead, she searched for the right word, innovate. Innovation within our parameters is encouraged," Supreme Chancellor Ixtal noted. "It strengthens the Concordat." "Their innovation doesn't follow parameters," Supreme Chancellor Vereen countered. "They imagine impossible things, then find ways to make them possible. Their entertainment, which many dismiss as wasteful, actually serves as a laboratory for ideas. They conceive of something in their science fiction, then work to create it in reality." The assembly chamber filled with dismissive clicking and humming. Director Nixis projected a series of calculations into the shared consciousness space. "Our models show a 99.97% chance of successful integration within standard parameters. The humans' limited space presence and divided planetary governance make them particularly susceptible to our standard diplomatic approach." Vereen watched as the assembly members bobbed and swayed in agreement. She made one final attempt. "The precursors have never before issued such a warning. In all our recorded history. The precursors are a dying species," Supreme Chancellor Ixtal interrupted. "Their judgment is clouded by their own failures. We are the Concordat. We bring unity, peace, and advancement to all species we encounter. The humans will benefit from our guidance, as all others have." The decision crystallized in the shared consciousness space. The integration fleet would depart within 30 cycles. Earth would be offered the standard choice: peaceful integration or forced compliance. The assembly members began filing out, already discussing resource allocation and integration protocols. Vereen remained behind, staring at the frozen image of the precursor entity. She accessed the classified human monitoring feeds through her neural interface. Something caught her attention. A new transmission from the primitive human information network they called the Internet. A human child was speaking to an artificial intelligence of their own creation, asking it to solve an impossible mathematical problem. The AI responded with the standard impossibility protocols, explaining why the problem couldn't be solved. The child, rather than accepting this limitation, asked why not, and began suggesting alternative approaches. This simple exchange sent a chill through Varine's thermal regulation system. The humans didn't just push boundaries, they questioned the very existence of boundaries. They didn't just solve problems, they redefined the nature of problems themselves. She composed a secure message to her old colleague in the Historical Analysis Division. Begin archiving everything. The Concordat is about to learn why the precursor's warning should have been heeded. The humans won't just resist integration. They'll reconstruct the very meaning of integration itself. The integration fleet's departure countdown continued, oblivious to the storm it was about to encounter. In her private chambers, High Admiral Verine began preparing contingency plans, not for the humans' defeat, but for the Concordat's survival. First Contact's folly. Integration Specialist Rental reviewed the first contact protocols for the 18th time as the Concordat's diplomatic fleet decelerated into Earth's solar system. Everything had to be perfect. The humans' primitive detection systems wouldn't notice their arrival until they chose to reveal themselves, giving the Concordat complete control over the first impression. Final approach vector calculated, announced Navigation Officer Zix. Their planetary defense systems remain primitive. No signs of quantum detection arrays or gravitic sensors. Rental's satisfaction lasted exactly 3 seconds. Sir, the sensor operator's crystalline form pulsed with alarm frequencies. Unknown energy signature detected from the third planet's moon. Before Rental could respond, a voice filled their communication systems, not just the standard channels, but through every frequency simultaneously, even penetrating their quantum-encrypted command network. Concordat vessels, this is Luna Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Maintain current velocity and prepare for inspection. Impossible. The humans shouldn't have detected them, let alone identified them as Concordat vessels. Rental activated the ship's external sensors, and his core temperature dropped several degrees. The moon's surface was transforming. What they had dismissed as primitive mining operations were revealing themselves as massive defense installations. Sir, we're being scanned by something. It's not like any technology in our database. Rental accessed the tactical display. Human vessels were emerging from hidden docks across their solar system, ships that bore little resemblance to their previously observed chemical rocket technology. They moved with a grace that suggested inertial control far beyond what humans should possess. This is a diplomatic mission, he broadcast. We come in peace to offer Earth membership in the unified Galactic Concordat. The response came instantly. Understood. However, all diplomatic contacts must be preceded by standard quarantine and security protocols. Please power down your primary systems and prepare for boarding. The sheer audacity stunned Rental into momentary silence. These primitives presumed to board a Concordat vessel. He sent an emergency update to High Command, then addressed his crew. Maintain current position but keep all systems active. We will demonstrate proper diplomatic protocol to Thais. His words cut off as new energy signatures bloomed across their sensor displays. The humans had somehow created a containment field around the entire diplomatic fleet, one that operated on principles their sensors couldn't even classify. Admiral Verine's voice came through on a private channel, carrying undertones of grim amusement. Specialist Rental, I suggest you comply with their requests. I've just received some rather interesting intelligence about Earth's technological development over the past decade. Impossible, Rental protested. Our last survey showed them barely achieving lunar colonization. They couldn't have advanced this quickly. That's what makes humans unique, Vereen replied. They don't advance linearly. They make exponential leaps. It seems they discovered some of our observation satellites 5 years ago. Instead of announcing this discovery, they fed us carefully curated information while developing countermeasures. Most concerning, they appear to have developed technologies that operate on principles we've never encountered. A human ship approached, sleek, angular, and radiating power signatures that defied classification. Its design seemed to ignore several laws of physics that the Concordat had long considered immutable. You have 30 seconds to comply with shutdown procedures, Luna Defense Command announced. Be advised that any aggressive action will be interpreted as hostile intent and met with appropriate force. Rental watched in disbelief as his tactical officer displayed the human fleet's deployment. They hadn't just prepared for this meeting. They had orchestrated it. The Concordat fleet had been expertly herded into a position of maximum vulnerability. Shutdown protocols initiated, he finally announced, his pride dissolving into a mixture of fear and fascination. We submit to your inspection procedures. As human boarding vessels approached, Rental received another private message from Admiral Vereen. The precursors weren't warning us about human aggression or military capability. They were warning us about something far more fundamental, human adaptability. In the time it takes us to analyze a problem, they've already developed 3 solutions and started working on a 4th. They don't just think outside conventional boundaries. They refuse to acknowledge that boundaries exist at all. The first human boarding party arrived, their environmental suits displaying technology that somehow blocked all Concordat scanning attempts. Their movements were precise, professional, and displayed complete confidence in dealing with alien technology they couldn't possibly have encountered before. Welcome aboard, the human team leader announced in perfect Concordat standard speech. We have some questions about your intentions regarding Earth. We're particularly interested in discussing the concept of integration we discovered in your communications databases. Rental's secondary heart nearly stopped. They had penetrated the Concordat's quantum-encrypted databases, while the diplomatic fleet was still at the edge of their solar system. The human continued, their tone carrying an edge of what could only be described as anticipation. We have some alternative proposals we'd like to discuss. We find your current model of galactic organization unnecessarily limiting. In that moment, Rental finally understood the true meaning of the precursor's warning. The Concordat hadn't come to integrate humanity into their system. They had just given humanity an excuse to completely reshape the galaxy's political landscape. The age of the Concordat was about to end, not with a war, but with an idea. And humans, it seemed, were very, very good at turning ideas into reality. The spark of rebellion. Supreme Chancellor Ixtol faced the emergency session of the Concordat Grand Assembly, all 4 of his primary limbs trembling with barely contained fury. The holographic displays surrounding the chamber showed scenes that challenged everything the Concordat had believed about technological progression and species development. 3 months, he announced to the assembled representatives. In 3 months, the humans haven't just rejected integration. They've begun actively dismantling our influence in the Outer Rim territories. The display shifted to show a human diplomatic mission meeting with the Skurith, a species the Concordat had spent centuries carefully guiding toward proper technological development. The humans were offering them something unthinkable: unrestricted access to advanced technology with no oversight or control. What you're seeing, Director Nixus reported, her crystalline form dulled with stress, is what the humans call open-source technology sharing. They're not just giving away advanced technologies, they're teaching other species how to improve upon them. A new figure stepped into the chamber. First Contact Specialist Kira Patel, the human representative who had thoroughly dismantled the Concordat's diplomatic mission 3 months ago. Her presence here, in the heart of Concordat space, was itself a testament to how completely they had underestimated human capabilities. Distinguished members of the Assembly, she began, her voice carrying no trace of intimidation. We've reviewed your integration protocols thoroughly. While we appreciate the stability the Concordat has brought to the galaxy, we find your methods unnecessarily restrictive. Ixtal's secondary hearts pulsed with indignation. You dare lecture us on galactic governance. Your species has barely achieved interstellar travel. Kira smiled, a gesture that somehow managed to convey both warmth and predatory intent. Actually, we achieved practical FTL travel approximately 2 weeks after your first diplomatic contact. Your arrival provided the final pieces of data we needed, which brings me to why I'm here. She activated her own holographic display, showing a new form of drive system that made several assembly members emit distress frequencies. This is what we call collaborative innovation. We took your quantum fold technology, combined it with Skreth gravitational theory, added some principles we discovered while experimenting with dark matter, and created something entirely new. We're sharing this design with any species that wants it. You're disrupting thousands of years of careful technological progression. Director Nixist vibrated with alarm. Species must be guided carefully, their development controlled to prevent chaos. That's where we fundamentally disagree, Kira replied. Humanity's greatest advances came from chaos, from the freedom to experiment, fail, and try again. We believe every species deserves that same opportunity. The assembly erupted in protest, but Kira continued undeterred. We've established what we call the Galactic Open Exchange, a network where species can freely share knowledge, technology, and culture. Already, 37 of your protectorate worlds have joined. Admiral Vereen, watching from her command post, felt her scales ripple with something between amusement and awe. The humans hadn't responded to the Concordat's attempted integration with military force. They had responded with an idea, a fundamentally different way of organizing galactic civilization. You'll trigger conflicts, technological disasters. Ixtal protested. There are reasons we control the flow of advancement. We understand the risks, Kira acknowledged. That's why we're also sharing our risk management protocols, emergency response systems, and conflict resolution methodologies. But we believe the benefits of freedom and collaboration far outweigh the risks of controlled stagnation. She gestured, and new holographs appeared, showing technological breakthroughs that shouldn't have been possible. The Skreth had combined their gravitational manipulation expertise with human quantum theory to create planet-scale climate control systems. The crystalline Enxithi had merged their photonic computing with human neural network designs to achieve consciousness transfer. Dozens of species, freed from Concordat restrictions, were advancing in ways that defied prediction. We're not here to destroy the Concordat, Kira explained, her tone softening. We're here to invite you to evolve. Join the exchange, share your knowledge freely, and learn from others in return. The galaxy is too vast, too wondrous for any one species or organization to control its development. Admiral Vereen watched as the assembly members' initial hostility began to shift toward curiosity. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had introduced chaos into the Concordat's perfect order, but it was chaos that created possibilities rather than destruction. In her secure command center, Vereen composed a message to her historical archives. The precursors were right, but not in the way we thought. The humans aren't a threat because of their weapons or technology. They're a threat because they make other species dream of possibilities we never dared imagine. They don't conquer, they inspire. And against that kind of power, even the Concordat's perfect order cannot stand. The galaxy was changing, not through war or force, but through the simple, devastating power of an idea. That every species deserved the freedom to reach for the stars in their own way, at their own pace, with their own dreams. Evolution of war. The emergency alert pierced through every quantum communication channel in human space. Admiral Vereen's scales had lost their luster as she transmitted the warning directly to the Galactic Open Exchange headquarters on Earth. They call themselves the Purifiers, she announced to the assembled representatives of 43 species, a faction of hardline Concordat supporters who view unrestricted technological advancement as an abomination. they gathered a fleet of unprecedented size. Kira Patel, now serving as Earth's senior ambassador to the exchange, studied the tactical displays with an unsettling smile. How many ships, Admiral? Over 12,000 capital vessels, the combined strength of multiple sector fleets that rejected the Concordat's recent reforms. Verine's secondary heart trembled. They intend to reset the galaxy to its proper order, starting with Earth. The chamber remained silent for exactly 3 seconds before bursting into an explosion of activity. But it wasn't panic that Verine observed. It was coordination. Species that had been uplifted by human innovation were now demonstrating why the Concordat's fear of unrestricted development had been so misplaced. The Skreth representative activated a holographic tactical display. Our gravity manipulation systems can disrupt their formation. The new quantum gravitic interface we developed with the Ingenuity allows us to create localized space-time distortions. The Ingenuity Collective has completed the quantum consciousness transfer network, the crystalline being chimed in. We can coordinate fleet movements with zero latency across 12 sectors. A new voice cut through the chamber. Professor Nikolay Volkov, Earth's leading xenotechnology researcher. More importantly, we've just completed testing on the cooperative defense system. Every species here has contributed unique technological and cultural perspectives to create something entirely new. The tactical display shifted, showing a network of interconnected technologies that made even Verine's experienced military mind struggle to comprehend. Human neural networks merged with Skreth gravity manipulation, powered by Ingenuity quantum consciousness transfer, all guided by dozens of species' unique approaches to physics and reality itself. The purifiers expect to face primitive species fighting separately, Kira observed. Instead, they'll encounter something unprecedented, genuine galactic cooperation, not enforced by a central authority, but freely chosen and innovated upon by all. Warning signals flashed across the quantum networks. The Purifier fleet had begun its advance, its commanders transmitting messages about cleansing corruption and restoring proper order. They expected to face inferior technology wielded by unworthy species. What they encountered defied their comprehension. Space itself seemed to ripple as Skreth gravity drives engage, creating corridors of distorted physics that human tactical systems use to multiply their effective force. The consciousness networks coordinated thousands of ships with perfect precision, while other species contributed battle strategies that had never been combined before. But it was more than just technology. The purifiers faced something their rigid worldview couldn't process: genuine diversity in action. Each species brought its own perspective, its own solutions, its own way of approaching problems. Humanity's gift hadn't been advanced technology. It had been the idea that different approaches could work together, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Verine watched as the Purifier fleet's perfect formation began to break apart, their commanders unable to adapt to warfare that didn't follow any known doctrine. Their weapons, designed to overcome specific types of defenses, proved useless against systems that combined dozens of different technological approaches simultaneously. Send the offer, Kira commanded as the battle turned decisively. A transmission went out to the Purifier fleet in all known languages. Your technology and knowledge are welcome in the exchange. Your desire for control is not. Choose freely. Ships began breaking formation, not fleeing, but transitioning. The Purifiers had expected to face chaos and weakness. Instead, they found strength through diversity, power through cooperation. Their ideology of control couldn't survive contact with the reality of what free species could achieve together. In her private thoughts, Verine composed what would become a famous historical observation. The human's true weapon was never technology. It was the radical notion that every species deserves the freedom to innovate, to contribute, to be heard. The Concordat sought to create perfect order through control. Humanity showed us how to create something far more powerful: harmony through freedom. The battle ended not with the destruction of the Purifier fleet, but with its transformation. Ships that had come to destroy now docked at exchange stations, their crews experiencing for the first time what unrestricted cultural and technological exchange really meant. They had come to impose order, only to discover a different kind of order, one that emerged naturally from cooperation rather than control. As the immediate crisis passed, Kira addressed the Exchange Council again. This victory belongs to all of us, every species that chose to share rather than hoard knowledge, to cooperate rather than control. We've proved that freedom doesn't mean chaos. It means finding new ways to work together. The galactic political landscape had been transformed not by conquest, but by choice. The age of controlled development was over. A new era had begun, one where every species was free to reach for the stars in their own way, contributing their unique perspective to the greatest technological and cultural exchange in galactic history. Empire's dawn. The crystalline chamber of the precursors pulsed with ancient energies as Kira paddled stood before the ethereal beings who had once warned the Concordat about humanity. 10 years had passed since first contact, and the galaxy had transformed in ways that even humans hadn't fully anticipated. "You knew," Kira said, not a question but a statement. "You knew what would happen when humanity entered galactic society." The precursor's form shifted through patterns of light and energy. "We knew possibilities. Humans excel at exceeding possibilities." Admiral Vereen, now serving as the Exchange's Chief of Defense Innovation, stood beside Kira. Her scales had gained new patterns, signs of wisdom in her species. The warning wasn't about humanity being dangerous, was it? It was about change itself. The Concordat sought perfection through control. The precursor's thoughts resonated directly in their minds. Humanity brings perfection through chaos, through freedom to fail, learn, grow. This transformation was inevitable once your species reached the stars. The holographic displays around them showed the galaxy as it now existed. The rigid structures of the Concordat had given way to something organic, dynamic. Species that had been carefully controlled for millennia were now charging forward into their own futures, each contributing unique perspectives to the galactic community. The exchange wasn't just about sharing technology, Kira realized. It was about sharing dreams. Yes, the precursor's form brightened. Watch. The displays shifted, showing scenes from across the galaxy. The Skreth, once limited to approved technological paths, had combined their gravity manipulation with 7 other species' innovations to create sustainable micro-universes. The Engenuity consciousness networks had merged with human artistic expression, giving birth to entirely new forms of thought and creativity. But most remarkably, they showed the former Concordat worlds. Rather than falling into chaos as predicted, they had discovered their own paths forward. Some raced ahead with technological innovation, others focused on cultural and philosophical advancement, and many found unique combinations of both. "Your warning wasn't to protect the galaxy from humanity," Vereen said slowly. "It was to protect the Concordat from itself. You knew they wouldn't be able to adapt to what humanity represented." The Concordat sought to freeze the galaxy in a moment of perceived perfection. The precursor confirmed, "But the universe does not allow stasis. Change is the only constant." Humanity's gift was showing the galaxy how to embrace change, how to thrive in chaos. A new alert drew their attention. The quantum networks were lighting up with activity. Another breakthrough. A collaboration between 23 species had cracked the code of zero-point energy manipulation. Clean, unlimited power would soon be available to every world that wanted it. "We didn't create an empire of control," Kira observed. "We created an empire of innovation." "Not an empire," the precursor corrected. "A garden. Each species grows in its own way, at its own pace, contributing to the whole. This is why we watched humanity for so long. You understand instinctively what the Concordat could never accept. That true strength comes from diversity, from the freedom to choose one's own path." The chamber's energies pulsed stronger as the precursor continued. "Our time is ending. We have watched over the galaxy for millions of years, waiting for a species that could transform control into cooperation, that could show others how to grow without losing themselves. Humanity has exceeded even our hopes.